Have you ever felt completely drained by someone who seems to control your every move, your every reaction? What if the most powerful thing you could do isn't arguing or defending yourself, but simply being silent? You want to understand the exact moment a narcissist begins to panic. It's not when you fight back. It's not when you argue. It's not even when you walk away. It's when you stop caring. Because the moment they realize your emotions no longer matter, their control disappears. They can't manage indifference. They can't twist silence. And the moment they see you smiling, living, and moving forward without them, that's when the game ends. Today, I'm going to explain exactly what happens inside a narcissist's mind when you finally reclaim your power. Indifference is the narcissist's weakness because their whole existence depends on one thing: your reaction. The smirk, the rage, the guilt trips, the silent treatments, all of it is meant to trigger an emotional response from you so they can feed on your energy. The more you react, the more they win. They don't even care whether the emotion is love, hate, anger, or tears. To them, attention is fuel, and you are the gas station they keep returning to whenever they need to refill their fragile ego. But what happens when that station closes? What happens when you stop feeding the fire? When you stop reacting? When you finally meet their games with total indifference, that's when everything shifts. Because suddenly the power they thought they had over you disappears into thin air. At first, they don't believe it. They'll push harder. They'll throw bigger tantrums, use more manipulative words, create dramatic stories just to see if they can still get under your skin. They'll test your silence, desperate to break it. But your indifference doesn't bend. You don't explain, you don't argue, you don't defend yourself, and that terrifies them because your emotions were their playground. The moment you stop playing, they are left in an empty field with no one to manipulate. Their carefully built illusion of control starts to crumble because without your reactions, they have no stage, no audience, no performance to keep running. Indifference cuts deeper than anger ever could. Anger still shows that you care, that they matter enough to take your energy. But indifference is a void. It's silence. It's a mirror reflecting their own emptiness. They can't fight it. They can't reason with it. They can't manipulate it because there is nothing to grab onto. That's why they despise it so much. It forces them to face themselves, something they avoid at all costs. When you stop caring, you take away their oxygen. And without oxygen, the fire dies. The shift of power is undeniable. For so long, they thrived on controlling your emotions. Every sigh, every tear, every moment of overthinking was proof they still had a hold on you. But when you detach, when you show that their opinion no longer matters in your life, you reclaim your freedom. That's when they realize the strings they thought were tied tightly have been cut, and they are no longer the puppet master. Your silence becomes louder than every argument you ever had with them. They may try to bait you, trying to provoke you back into reacting because their ego cannot handle being ignored. They may label you as cold, selfish, or uncaring. They may play the victim even harder than before. But the truth is, their desperation proves your power. They need your attention more than you ever needed theirs. And when you finally recognize that, when you no longer feel the need to explain yourself, defend yourself, or justify your peace, that's when you are truly free. Indifference doesn't mean hate. It doesn't mean revenge. It doesn't even mean forgiveness. It simply means you are done giving them what they crave most, your energy. It is the ultimate act of strength because it shows you have stepped outside their game completely. While they are still trying to play chess, you have already walked off the board. They can rage, sulk, gossip, scheme, but none of it matters anymore because the one thing they cannot manipulate is someone who has mastered not caring. The power shift happens the moment you stop feeding into a narcissist's game. For so long, they convinced you that they held the upper hand, that your value depended on their approval, that your peace depended on their moods. They placed themselves at the center of your world, and you unknowingly handed over the keys. You reacted to every jab, defended yourself against every accusation, sought their validation, and explained yourself endlessly just to prove your worth. But when you finally reach the breaking point where you realize you don't have to play anymore, that's when everything changes. The balance of power flips, and suddenly they are scrambling to regain control. At first, they are in disbelief. They are used to having the last word, the last laugh, the final say, and your silence feels like a betrayal. They'll test it. They'll prod, poke, and push, expecting you to fold like before. They'll recycle the same tactics that worked previously: gaslighting, guilt trips, rage, even charm. But when nothing works, they panic. They don't know how to exist without being the center of someone else's emotional world. That's when you start to see cracks forming, because their power was never real. It was borrowed from you. The shift is subtle at first. You stop arguing so much. You stop explaining every little thing. You stop defending yourself against their twisted version of reality. You realize that no matter what you say, they will twist it. So you stop wasting your words. And in that silence, in that calm refusal to engage, you discover strength you didn't know you had. You feel lighter because you no longer carry their chaos. While you rise, they sink because their foundation of power was your reaction. Without it, they are powerless. This is when they start chasing you, not out of love, but fear. They switch strategies, trying to love bomb you again, filling you with promises and apologies that sound perfect. But if you stand firm and see through it, their desperation is clear. They're not fighting for you. They're fighting for control. They're fighting for their supply, and you can see it in their eyes. The fear of being irrelevant. For a narcissist, nothing hurts more than realizing they don't matter to you anymore. The power shift isn't loud. It doesn't come with fireworks or dramatic endings. It comes quietly, almost invisibly, in small choices you start making for yourself. You stop over-explaining. You stop apologizing for things that aren't your fault. You stop internalizing their criticism and start seeing it as projection. You stop giving them access to your emotional triggers, and with every step, you reclaim more of yourself. They may still scream, sulk, or manipulate, but it no longer touches you. Their words bounce off because you finally see the truth. They never had power. You were the source all along. This shift terrifies them because it exposes their weakness. For the first time, they face the reality they cannot control you, cannot bend you, and their grip is broken. They may lash out, smear your name, or try to replace you, but deep down, they know the truth. They lost the one thing they craved most: your energy. The mask begins to crack the moment they realize their act no longer convinces you. For so long, they've hidden behind charm, manipulation, and illusions. They can present themselves as the hero, the victim, or the perfect partner, depending on the situation. The mask is convincing, so much that people often believe they are confident, generous, or admirable. But it's just a cover for deep insecurity, emptiness, and fear. And when you stop feeding the act, when you no longer clap for the performance, cracks appear. At first, the cracks are small. You notice inconsistencies in their stories, contradictions between words and actions. You see the charm fade in private while the public image stays polished. They might slip, showing flashes of anger, jealousy, or entitlement when they think no one is watching. These cracks are the parts of themselves they cannot hide. The more you pull away, the more visible these cracks become. Without your constant attention, they lose the energy to keep the mask in place. The mask requires effort. It takes energy to smile when they want to sneer, to flatter when they want to belittle, to pretend when they want control. When they sense you no longer believe in their image, exhaustion shows. The polished facade slips, revealing the raw, unfiltered self. Bitter, angry, insecure, desperate. They might explode over trivial matters, lash out for imagined slights, or sulk like a child. This is the unmasked version, the side they hide from the world. As the mask cracks more, they scramble to fix it. They overcompensate with charm, apologies, or empty promises. They may act perfect again, hoping you'll forget the slip and buy into the act again. But the cracks remain. The more they try to patch it, the more desperate they seem. You sense the instability, the frantic energy of someone losing control of the image they depended on for so long. Their behavior becomes unpredictable, sometimes sweet and convincing, sometimes angry, sometimes playing the victim. It's a cycle of mask repair, but once you see behind the curtain, you cannot unsee it. the illusion no longer works. You can spot the mask versus reality. That awareness weakens their hold. What seemed like strength now looks fragile. Confidence now reeks of insecurity. Cracks also show in how they relate to others. They may struggle to charm those close to you or who see through their tactics. They might lose friends, colleagues, or family who notice the same inconsistencies. The carefully polished image crumbles under reality. The more it crumbles, the more unstable they become, because their identity depends on the mask staying intact. When the mask cracks, the narcissist's biggest fear appears: being truly seen. Deep down, they know the real self is not enough, not lovable, not worthy. That's why they made the mask. But when you stop believing, when you stop playing along, you force them to face what they have avoided their whole life. No matter how much they try to glue it back, the truth is out. Silence speaks louder than words with a narcissist because it's a language they cannot control. They thrive on chaos, reactions, emotional fuel from your response. Every argument, tear, apology, they feed on it. Your words are their playground, their stage for manipulation. But silence is different. Silence refuses to participate. Silence refuses to hand over control. Silence terrifies them. They cannot manipulate it, bend it, or make it work for them. At first, silence feels strange, even unnatural. We are conditioned to speak, defend, explain. We want closure, validation, acknowledgement, but the power of silence is in refusing to engage. When you stop arguing, stop defending, stop giving reactions, the dynamic changes immediately. Suddenly, the stage is empty, and the narcissist has no audience. They cannot perform without someone to watch. They cannot provoke without someone to respond. And in that emptiness, their illusion of control starts to break apart. Silence does not mean weakness. It is strength in its purest form. It shows confidence, stability, and self-possession. It says, I will not be shaken by your chaos. I will not give you power over me. For a narcissist, this is unbearable because their whole identity depends on manipulating others to feel superior. They are used to dominating conversations, controlling stories, and bending reality to fit their needs. When silence enters the room, their scripts collapse. They stumble over their words. They escalate. They panic because they cannot read or influence this quiet force. The beauty of silence is that it magnifies everything else. Your calm presence, your steady composure, your refusal to react, all of it becomes louder than any argument or rant they could throw at you. They may try to fill the void with louder words, accusations, guilt trips, or even charm, but each attempt only shows their desperation and loss of control. They are forced to face the fact that you are no longer a part of their game. And that realization can hurt them more than any confrontation or rebuttal because it exposes their weakness, their need for approval, and the emptiness under their confident exterior. Silence also gives space for clarity. While they spin in their chaos, you are watching, analyzing, and reclaiming your power. You notice patterns, recognize manipulations, and understand their tactics in ways you couldn't while reacting. Your mind is free. Your energy is yours, and you are no longer trapped in their cycle. And with that awareness comes the ability to act with intention rather than react impulsively. You choose your responses, you set your boundaries, and you decide when, if ever, engagement is worth your energy. The narcissist often escalates in response to silence because it unsettles them. They might try to provoke with sharper words, sudden accusations, or attempts to guilt you into speaking. They may even try tactics like love bombing or playing the victim to break the quiet. But none of these work when you have mastered detachment. Silence here becomes a mirror. It reflects their insecurity, their neediness, and their manipulative habits. The louder they become, the clearer their weakness. Silence communicates more than any words ever could. It is an unspoken boundary, a demonstration of self-respect, and an assertion of personal power. When you refuse to engage, you are no longer a part of their story. You are reclaiming your narrative. And for a narcissist who built their identity on controlling others, this quiet resistance is unbearable because it exposes the illusion they have relied on for so long. Your freedom becomes their fear because a narcissist can only exist in a world where they are needed, depended on, or feared. Their sense of control depends entirely on others' reactions. And the moment someone breaks free from that influence, they face a reality they cannot manipulate. When you finally stop seeking their approval, stop explaining yourself, stop defending your choices, and start living by your own rules, you trigger deep panic within them. They are faced with a terrifying truth. The person they relied on for approval, power, or attention no longer belongs to them, and there is nothing they can do to reclaim that control. For a long time, they thrive on subtle manipulations, guilt trips, silent treatments, and emotional blackmail. Every apology, every tear, every sign that you still care feeds their ego and convinces them they are essential. They live under the illusion that their presence is necessary, that without them you would falter, that you cannot act independently of their influence. But as soon as you detach, reclaim your energy, and set boundaries they cannot cross, their carefully built sense of control falls apart. They start to see that they are not the center of your world, and that your life no longer revolves around them. And this realization sparks fear. The fear is deep because it threatens their identity. Narcissists are built on perception. They need to be admired, envied, or feared. Their sense of superiority is fragile and depends on constantly dominating others. When someone asserts independence, they are forced to face the emptiness beneath their facade. Your freedom exposes the void they have been hiding behind charm, manipulation, and calculated appearances. They cannot accept that their power over you was never real. It came from your willingness to participate in their drama. The more independent and self-assured you become, the more visible their fear grows. They may escalate their efforts to regain influence, using charm, threats, or deception in a desperate attempt to pull you back into their orbit. They may try to manipulate your emotions, guilt you, or provoke reactions to break your calm. But every moment you resist, every time you stay steady, reinforces their worst nightmare that you are no longer theirs to control. You are calm. Your deliberate actions show them that their power relied on your submission, and now that submission is gone. Freedom is not just the absence of their control. It is an active expression of your worth and independence. When you choose yourself over them, when you protect your peace and happiness, you show a power they cannot understand. They have spent their lives learning to dominate and manipulate others, but they are unprepared for someone who refuses to be manipulated. Your freedom becomes a force they cannot fight, a reality they cannot rewrite. Every choice you make for yourself, every boundary you enforce, every step you take away from their influence amplifies their fear because it shows the truth. They do not hold the key to your life anymore. This fear can appear in many ways. Some narcissists try to smear your reputation, create doubt, or involve others in their schemes. Others may withdraw completely, trying to regain control through absence or mystery. But none of these strategies can really take back the power you have reclaimed. Your independence, your choices, and your self-possession cannot be manipulated because they are grounded in reality, not illusion. Your freedom disrupts the story they have built around themselves. They have always thrived in environments where they could dominate and drain energy from others. But when you step out of that cycle, it reveals the fragility of their world. They fear they are no longer essential, no longer admired, no longer feared. And that fear can push them to desperate actions. But every time you stand firm, every time you honor your boundaries, their panic only shows how much your liberation undermines their control. The turning point comes the moment you decide that their games no longer control your life. For years, you may have been trapped in manipulation, guilt, and emotional exhaustion, constantly trying to predict their moods, defend yourself, and maintain a fragile peace. Every apology you gave, every justification you offered, and every compromise you made was an invisible thread in a web they controlled. But the turning point is when you stop trying to please them, stop bending to their demands, and start prioritizing your own needs, your boundaries, and your sanity. It is the moment when you understand that their approval is not the measure of your worth, and that your life is no longer a stage for their drama. At first, the turning point can feel frightening. You may worry about retaliation, about losing relationships, or about being misunderstood by others who only see the narcissist's polished persona. You may wonder if stepping away makes you selfish or harsh, but the truth is, this is not about punishment. It is about reclaiming your life. It is about choosing peace over chaos, authenticity over performance, and freedom over manipulation. The clarity of that decision shakes the foundation of the narcissist's control because they can no longer dictate your feelings or choices. Once the turning point is reached, the power dynamic flips, and the narcissist may respond with confusion, anger, or attempts to manipulate you back. They may escalate their tactics with guilt, blame, or charm to try to draw you into reacting, but you are no longer part of their game. Your awareness lets you see through their manipulation and recognize the patterns for what they are. You understand that nothing they do can change the fact that you have stepped off their treadmill of control, and that realization is a threat to them like nothing else. The turning point is also when your self-respect starts to grow. You no longer seek approval from someone who cannot give it honestly. You start to trust your own judgment. You set boundaries that remain firm even under emotional pressure. You no longer explain yourself, justify your choices, or let their chaos invade your mind. Each act of self-preservation strengthens your independence and erodes the power they thought they had. This change is subtle but deep because it changes not just how they interact with you, but how you interact with yourself. Their response to your turning point is often a mix of disbelief and panic. They may try to shame you, gaslight you, or project their insecurities onto you. But these efforts fail because you have already stepped outside their story. You no longer exist to serve their ego, and that emptiness unsettles them deeply. The turning point is where their mask begins to crack, where the control they believed they had is shown to be conditional, and where their fear of irrelevance becomes clear. This is also the moment when your life starts to grow beyond their shadow. You find space to pursue your own goals, dreams, and relationships without constant interference. Your choices are no longer driven by fear or obligation, but by clarity, purpose, and self-respect. You begin to feel the freedom that comes from stepping out of the cycle, and the narcissist's attempts to pull you back in become increasingly pointless. The turning point is never just one moment. It is a series of small, deliberate choices that add up to a major shift in the relationship. Each time you resist reacting, each time you enforce a boundary, each time you prioritize your well-being, you confirm that the game has changed. And the narcissist, faced with someone who no longer fears or needs them, begins to face a reality they cannot manipulate, control, or undo. The journey of reclaiming your power from a narcissist is ultimately a journey of self-discovery and independence. It is about learning to value your own peace, protect your boundaries, and trust your own judgment. Silence, detachment, and conscious choices are tools that help you step out of their influence and break the cycle of manipulation. By choosing yourself, you no longer participate in their games, and in doing so, you reclaim your life, your freedom, and your sense of self-worth. True strength lies not in confrontation, but in the calm, deliberate actions that honor your well-being and independence. In the end, the power you gain is not over anyone else, but over your own life, your choices, and your happiness.